So Google has released Veo-3, an AI video generator that is very much marking the beginning of the 3.0 era for this technology. Along with that, they have opened up the door to Flow, a really impressive platform bringing together the modalities of image, audio, and video. But that is all coming with a pretty hefty price tag, namely around $250 a month. So is it worth it? Well, as with a lot of these big releases, I ponied up the cash to go find out. So today we're going to take a look at what it's good at, what it's lacking, and ultimately let you know should you get into the flow. Okay, let's kick it over to AI Tim for the intro.
Hey, thanks, Tim. Let's hop in and see what Google has cooked up.
Kicking off, the big news here is that Veo-3 can now talk. So I decided to give that a go with some man-on-the-street interviews talking about AI video.
I'm out here interviewing people about AI video technology.
The potential for AI video generation is just incredible, but it also makes me nervous.
AI generated video?
Well, I suppose that it's something to get used to.
I think it's going to empower artists, but it's also kind of a slippery slope.
I don't think AI can ever truly capture the depth and nuance of human emotion.
I think it's going to be a very interesting time with video. I don't know what it will bring, but it's very exciting.
I do have some pretty interesting insights into that particular output. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But for now, let's keep the train rolling with this 90s sitcom inspired output.
So this is an AI video about nothing?
It's about nothing. Who would watch a video about nothing?
I really do have to give it up to Veo-3 for capturing like the 90s-ness of it all. It does look like a 90s HD remaster, but I mean, the 4:3 aspect ratio, all of the set decoration, the fact that, you know, our girl with the purple top there is really channeling an inner George. Now, obviously, the Veo-3 auto-generated subtitles down there are a bit of a mess. I do have a solution to that coming up. Running through a couple of quick community outputs before we roll up our sleeves, UTN Chung gives us quite the tongue twister.
Betty bought butter, but the butter's bitter, so Betty bought better butter to make the bitter butter better.
Matt Schumer gives us a snippet from a Minecraft streamer.
Oh my God, we got it! We actually got the diamonds, we actually did it.
I mean, are we still pretending that there isn't YouTube data in here? And finally, rolling out, well, it's my favorite we can talk example.
We can talk.
No more silence.
Yes, we can talk.
We can talk.
We can talk.
We can talk with accents.
Oh, I think that would be marvelous.
Yes, it is very fun. But
yes, it is very good.
It's very fun.
So all of that is, of course, super impressive. Now, one question you might have is, you know, beyond the obvious sound and dialogue, how much of a difference is there between Veo-2 and Veo-3? Well, to answer that, here's a quick 15-second sci-fi dystopia, very typical AI video demo that I cribbed together. First, in Veo-2, and now those exact same shots in Veo-3. So as a note, all of those shots were generated with image to video, which is a whole thing we're going to talk about in a little bit, with the exception of this shot. So this shot is actually text to video. In all honesty, I find both of them pretty serviceable. Where I think you do see noticeable differences is in, say, the opening shot. There's considerable less artifacting happening on the Veo-3 side. So ultimately, while I do see a bit of a quality boost, the gulf really isn't that massive. Now, the spot where I think that Veo-3 really shines is, well, much like Veo-2, actually in text to video. And look, while I know that this is not everyone's favorite way of working, we do tend to be control freaks that like to micromanage every element of the frame. But I gotta say that even with Veo-2, I tended to get much better results with like highly detailed text to video prompts. For example, let's take a look at this kind of like Goodfellas Sopranos inspired shot. So our initial image output begins here with, well, not Tony Soprano talking to not young Ray Liotta. And then the video output is this, which is, I mean, it's not too bad. It definitely has that, kind of like Scorsese camera movement vibe going on. However, when we run the exact same prompt with text to video, this is what we get.
I think it's time we take care of this situation with Sal.
You mean?
Setting aside the most obvious difference, yet you only get dialogue in text to video. It does not happen in image to video. Overall, there is a much more cinematic and natural look to the text to video output as opposed to the image to video one. Additionally, I do have to point out that I'm pretty sure that Sal is an FBI informant, and when they take him out, it's just going to lead to a lot of trouble. Rolling back to that earlier issue we had with subtitles, here is a Game of Thrones inspired shot where we ended up getting them.
My queen, we have translated the scrolls. We have the magic to fix the ending.
It's possible that the use of quotation marks is what ends up triggering that. For example, here is the prompt that we used. You can see, we have quotation marks here. I mean, I didn't write them. ChatGPT wrote them. But, that could be what ends up triggering those, faux subtitles. Testing that out, we'll go check in with our old pal, the man in the blue business suit, and finally let him talk.
After thousands of images and videos, I can finally talk. And I'm at a loss for words.
I gotta say, not exactly how I expected him to sound, but as we can see here in the prompt that I wrote, much shorter, obviously, there is no quotation marks. I just simply used a colon here and then wrote the dialogue out. Yeah, seemed to work. The other really interesting discovery that I ran across was that you can actually just give them a topic. You don't have to prompt any dialogue whatsoever. For example, in this output, which was an outtake from our Man on the Street interviews, the prompt here is just a person on the street interview where the person's talking about AI video and how they feel about it.
I think there's a lot of potential in AI video, not just for entertainment, but for education as well.
You can also prompt for it to write music, as we see here.
Oh, Tim, your videos, they shine so bright and...
Hey, thanks AI folk singer, that means a lot. But did you remember to hit the like and subscribe button? Now, given all of that, is it perfect? Well, no, of course it is not. There's some very cool stuff, but you still get the jank. For example, fight sequences. Now, I don't want to be overly critical. I mean, we can all see what's going wrong here. But I do want to point out that there's a lot going right here as well. The two characters are not fusing together. No one is flying away. No one is exploding. The other thing that I find endlessly entertaining is the fact that if you don't provide like any kind of dialogue detail, Veo-3 will just start to make some up. This is a fight sequence that is a total mess, but made funnier because of the dialogue.
Here I come, you punk!
I mean, whose side is this guy on anyway? He's like punching her in the back of the head. He says like, here I come, you punk. And then by the end of it, he's fighting the other guy. Does he even know which side he's on? One last fight sequence with improvised dialogue inspired by a film that, well, we don't talk about.
You're going down. Not today.
Like, I definitely have to say there is a bit of like rock'em sock'em robots going on with, the physics of the punches. But I mean, overall, that's a pretty good output. I definitely have to say that this new era of unprompted AI generated sound is bringing me so much joy. It's like the return of all the surrealness of like 1.0 era AI video. For example, rewriting a prompt of the, behind the scenes of my AI short film, The Bridge, we ended up with this.
I'd like you to show me that you're listening.
That lady is super mean. B, I love the look on our character's face there as she's like contemplating like, how does one show someone else they're listening? And rewriting it again, we end up with this assistant director that has like camera shutters for her hands. She definitely needs to see a doctor about that. Sliding over to fan films and IP, someone in the comments asked, if we could still do that. In Veo-2, you could definitely get away with a pretty wide margin. I definitely saw a lot of like Mario and, well, the Mandalorian. So taking that out for a spin, that basically says the Mandalorian without ever saying the name the Mandalorian, we ended up with this. I mean, it does very much come off as like the Mandalorian crossed with like a Sergio Leone man with no name, which is actually, I mean, to me, that's cooler. Another output here of tell me you're Batman without saying you're Batman. I mean, admittedly, there are some janky physics going on here, but there's a lot to like in this output. And finally, giving all of the prompt indicators pointing to a John Wick output, Veo-3 is like, nah, not gonna do that.
I need a room, preferably on the top floor.
Certainly, sir.
Two things about that. One, our guy is definitely a sniper. Two, Veo-2 has no understanding of what a hassle it is to check into a hotel room. Finally, in terms of, well, I guess kind of famous faces, I was able to get off this Edgar Allan Poe in his study writing the Raven output. Not a lot to write home about on this one, other than the fact that he's got like the full like black eyeliner goth thing going on, but it's Edgar Allan Poe. I'm going to let that slide. But I do have to point out that I got pushback on Abraham Lincoln in the theater with the dialogue line, "I'm dying to get a burger after the show." What, too soon? Okay, let's move over to some downsides. Currently, a lot of what was introduced at Google I/O is not present in Veo-3. For example, in painting, not there yet. We do not have external image generation. You can only generate, with images created in, I guess, like ImageN 4. References, which is kind of that whisk feature for video, that's only available in the turbo mode. So, basically the lowest quality one. No outpainting yet, and if you try to use any of the camera control presets, it basically kicks you back down to Veo-2. So basically, we're sort of waiting on everything but the voices right now. In fact, even the video extension isn't working yet. I mean, you can do it, it's just, it kicks you down to the fast mode. For example, and this is a bit of a janky output, this is seen from a 1980s horror movie where the woman is running away from a killer who wears a hockey mask and has chainsaws for hands. Yeah, a bit of a mess there. I do love the fact that like our killer guy is just like, I dropped my chainsaw and I think I got some corn stalk stuck in my eyeballs and now I can't see. So to create an extension here, we move into the storyboard function where obviously we have our clip here. If I hit the plus button and go extend, I can give it another prompt. So in this case, I'm going to give it the woman and the man with the chainsaw, hug and start laughing. The tone of the video changes to a romantic comedy. Now, to its credit, it does give us what we asked for. Indeed, they do start hugging. I'm not sure if they're like laughing, but we can't see underneath that guy's hockey mask. But to note, it is now in the fast mode. Additionally, these are two separate clips. So, you're going to have to manually put them together. On top of that, the first frame of our extension and the last frame of our original output, they aren't the same frames. Now, the frame does look like it's here in the original output. You just got to kind of scroll back for it and find it. It's just going to take some, manual effort on your part. You would think that, this would be automated. So all of that said, let's talk about the elephant in the room, or elephants in the room. Currently, access to the Flow platform to use Veo-3 there is going to run $250 a month. Now, it does have an intro price of $124 for the next 3 months. I honestly believe that's because even they know it's a little underbaked. For that subscription cost, you end up with 12,500 credits with each Veo-3 output costing you 150 credits, so you get up to 83 video generations. Now, in all fairness, I do have to say that Veo-3's hit rate is a lot higher than a lot of other AI video generators. The biggest tip that I can pass along to you is just to make sure that you come down into settings here. If you are using Veo-3, the highest quality one, just set your outputs to 1. Do not waste your credits running, up to 4 generations, because, that'll cost you. And look, I do continue to be impressed with, the text to video output, but without a much higher rate limit and the fact that, most of the marquee features aren't available yet, I mean, I really can't recommend it to most people for that price. Now, I'm not going to tell you how to spend your money, and God knows that I've, blown more money on dumber things. And you do get a lot of other stuff thrown in. For example, you do get early access to Project Mariner, which is something that I do want to check out. And YouTube Premium basically thrown in as well. But if your interest wholly lies in AI video generation, well, I mean, to quote the old meme, the rent is too high. Now, I have suggested to them adopting something a little more akin to what OpenAI did when they opened up the doors to Sora. Namely, sticking with the credits-based system, but, when you run out of credits, you basically go into like the slow boat mode. Now, whether that suggestion ever ends up getting heard by the right people, I mean, I don't know. I will leave a link to the Google Labs Discord down below, where, you can leave suggestions as well. Don't go all like Rotten Tomatoes review bombing over there. Be nice. In the meantime, if you do have some like Veo-3 FOMO going on, I mean, honestly, do not lose a lot of sleep over it. This is very much the opening salvo of an onslaught of improvements that we're going to be seeing across the board. Think of it as a preview of what AI video is going to look like over the next 3 to 5 months, and well, at least until the next massive wave of improvements comes along. In the meantime, I thank you for watching. My name is Tim.